Hello everyone, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be solving the integral from 0 to infinity of ln squared of x over x squared plus 1 with respect to x using a method called contour integration from complex analysis that I've been practicing lately. And so let's just get right to solving this integral without any further ado. First I want to set this equal to I so that we can refer back to it as a variable later on. And I also want us to notice that we can factor the denominator. The denominator can be factored as x plus I times x minus I with respect to x. And this already lays the groundwork for us to take our integral to the complex realm, and I'm just going to use red to indicate that we're getting imaginary. And so our integral becomes the contour integral along the contour C of ln squared of z over z plus I times z minus I dz. And so this is our function f of z, what we're integrating. And what does our contour look like then? Let's just go ahead and draw our axes. This is the real axis, and this is the imaginary axis. And switching back to red so that I can draw the contour, we first start with a line from negative r to negative epsilon, like this. And we have another line from epsilon to r, like this. And from negative epsilon to epsilon, we want to curl above the origin because at 0, we would have a discontinuity thanks to ln of 0. So we want to avoid that. And then we want to make sure that we're containing this, one of our singularities I, which is this pole. So we curl from r up into the complex plane and back down to negative r, and that successfully contains one of our poles I. The other pole is down here at negative I, but that doesn't matter as long as it's not contained within the contour, so it's perfectly fine to ignore it when we're computing our residues. And so keep in mind that this contour is going clockwise, so we are going clockwise from negative r to r, and from r to negative r above. And I want to call this big curve big gamma, the small curve is little gamma, and of course the whole contour is called C. And so now for the sake of simplicity, let's refer to our contour integral as the contour integral about C of f of z dz. And we know that this is equal to the integral from negative r to negative epsilon plus the integral of little gamma plus the integral from epsilon to r plus the integral along gamma. And so it can be proven by Jordan's lemma that this integral converges to 0. That's a whole proof, but for the sake of time and simplicity, I will not be covering that in this video. But Jordan's lemma essentially tells us that any function of the form e to the I a z f of z dz, their integrals will always converge to 0. It's something along the lines of that. But that just leaves us to deal with these three other integrals. And the first one I want to tackle is the integral from negative r to negative epsilon of ln squared of x squared plus 1 dx. And notice that we switched back to the x variable because this is going along the real axis. So actually, I can change this color back to blue. Perfect. And so now we can go ahead and just simply perform a substitution because we want to get rid of these negative bounds so that we can see what we might do, how we might combine this with the other integral from epsilon to r. So let's go ahead and say that x is equal to negative t. This means that dx is equal to negative dt. And so it now follows that our integral is from r to epsilon of ln squared of negative x over x squared plus 1 times negative dx. And in case you didn't notice, I switched back to x because this t is essentially a placeholder variable. I could have just written it out as t, but I am writing it out now as x for the sake of simplicity because later on we'll be able to combine this with the other integral from epsilon to r, which is going to be in terms of x. And so we notice that we can flip the bounds using this negative here. So this becomes the integral from epsilon to r of ln squared of negative x, which can also be rewritten as ln of negative 1 plus ln of x squared over x squared plus 1 dx. And this ln of negative 1 can be calculated as follows. We know that negative 1 is the same as saying e to the I times pi by Euler's formula. So this is essentially the same as saying the e and the ln cancel out. So this is the same as saying I times pi. And so our integral becomes the integral from epsilon to r of I times pi plus ln of x squared over x squared plus 1 with respect to x. And moving on, we can expand that top part and then split it into multiple integrals along the same boundaries. So I times pi squared is the same as saying negative pi squared plus 2 pi I times ln of x. We're just expanding this out. And plus ln of squared of x over x squared plus 1 with respect to x. And now, again, like I said, we can split these up. We have negative pi squared times the integral from epsilon to r of 1 over x squared plus 1 with respect to x plus the integral from epsilon to r, 2 pi I times that integral of ln of x over x squared plus 1 with respect to x. And this is again added to the integral from epsilon to r of ln squared of x over x squared plus 1 dx. And now substituting this back into our big original formula, we have the contour integral along c of f of z dz is equal to, we said this was the integral from negative e, r to negative e, so this becomes negative pi squared from epsilon to r over 1 over x squared plus 1 dx plus 2 pi I times the integral from epsilon to r of ln of x squared plus 1 with respect to x plus the integral from epsilon to r of ln squared of x over x squared plus 1 dx. But because this was the same as saying epsilon from r of ln squared of x over x squared plus 1 dx, this is actually 2 times that integral because we have 2 of these and they're equal to each other, so we can just add them up. And of course, we're forgetting our other integral along the curve little gamma, which is still in the imaginary plane, so that's also in this equation. And so what we want to do now is let epsilon approach 0 and we want to let r approach infinity. This gives us negative pi squared times the integral from 0 to infinity of 1 over x squared plus 1 dx. And this is a familiar integral. This integral evaluates to pi over 2 because the antiderivative of 1 over x squared plus 1 is the arctangent function. And we know that at infinity, the arctangent function approaches pi over 2. And then we have plus 2 pi I times the integral from 0 to infinity of ln of x, x squared plus 1 dx. This result can actually also be proven using contour integration that it's equal to 0. This is also equal to 0, so this term becomes irrelevant, and we have plus 2 times 0 to infinity of ln squared of x, x squared plus 1 dx. And actually, this is equal to our I from earlier. We saw I is equal to the integral from 0 to infinity of ln squared of x over x squared plus 1 with respect to x. So we can simply set this equal to I, and then of course, we also have that little gamma integral that we still have to consider. So that's plus little gamma. And so rewriting this whole thing, we get negative pi squared times pi over 2, which is the same as saying negative pi cubed over 2, plus 2 times I, plus the integral along the little curve gamma. And this is all equal to the contour integral along f of z dz. And now to evaluate the actual contour integral itself, we can use Cauchy's residue theorem, which tells us that the integral along a contour c of f of z dz is equal to 2 pi I times the sum of the residues of the function f of z at its poles. And to compute the residue, we only have to compute one residue, as you can see, because only one pole is contained within our contour. So our residue is 2 pi I, or well, this is the factor that we're multiplying the residue by. Our residue is the same as saying the limit as z approaches I, our pole, of z minus I times the function f of z. So f of z was ln squared of z over z minus I times z plus I, right? And so we see that these z minus i's cancel out, and from here we can just directly substitute in I for z. So we have 2 pi I times ln squared of I over I plus I, which is 2i. Immediately we see that this 2i cancels out with this I and this 2, and we're left with pi times ln squared of I, which is the same as saying ln of I. I can also be expressed as e to the I pi over 2 by Euler's formula, and this is squared. And canceling out the e and the ln, we're left with pi times I pi over 2 squared, which is the same as saying pi times negative pi squared over 4. So we're left with negative pi cubed over 4. And so that's what our contour integral along c of f of z dz is. And so we're left with negative pi cubed over 4 is equal to the integral along gamma minus pi cubed over 2, and then plus 2i, which is our real factor. So I'll change the color for that. Plus 2i. And just doing some algebraic rearrangement, we can rewrite the left side. If we add plus pi cubed over 2 to both sides, we can rewrite the left side as, so what, pi cubed over 2, this cancels out, plus pi cubed over 2. Pi cubed over 2 is the same as saying 2 pi cubed over 4. So 2 pi cubed over 4 minus pi cubed over 4 leaves us with pi cubed over 4 is equal to the integral along gamma plus our real factor 2I. And now all that's left to solve is this integral along gamma. And so we know that this integral along gamma is the integral of ln squared of z squared plus 1 dz. And so now what we can do is perform a parameterization to be able to take this into a real variable that we can then perform limits on, because we're going to be using epsilon. So our parameterization is going to be z is equal to epsilon times e to the it. And the reason we do epsilon times e to the it is because notice how this semicircle has a radius of epsilon. So e to the it allows us to cycle along this semicircle, and we're going to set our bounds as 0 less than or equal to t less than or equal to pi, because that's a semicircle we're integrating along. And so our dz is then equal to I times epsilon e to the it. And so substituting all that in, our bounds become from 0 to pi of, and when we obviously got to substitute this in, so we get ln squared of epsilon e to the it over epsilon e to the it squared plus 1 times I times epsilon e to the it with respect to t. Oh yeah, actually I forgot to write dt here. Sorry about that. But yeah, now all we need to do is examine this integral's behavior as we let epsilon approach 0. So we see here that when epsilon is 0, we're left with 1 in the denominator, so that's great. We don't have to deal with any 1 over 0, 0 over 0 indeterminate forms. And now we see here that if we let this go to 0, this is going to collapse to infinity. But this linear epsilon term here, if we let that equal 0, that is going to converge to 0 a lot faster than this diverges to infinity. So we can prove this using inequalities, but then again, for the sake of time and simplicity, we can say that this is simply equal to 0. But using inequalities and limits, it can indeed be shown that this whole limit collapses to 0. But intuitively, we can also see why epsilon would collapse to 0 faster than ln would diverge to infinity. So this is simply equal to 0. So that leaves us with just 2I is equal to pi cubed over 4, which gives us I is equal to pi cubed over 8. So our final answer is the integral from 0 to infinity of ln squared of x over x squared plus 1 with respect to x is equal to pi cubed over 8. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our final result. It was, of course, contour integration is a lot of work, and it does require a lot of understanding of these concepts, of course, of the concept of a contour, Cauchy's residue theorem, Jordan's lemma, the parameterization. But yeah, it was a whole nice little journey, very elegant process, and we ended up with an elegant answer as a result. Thank you guys so much for watching. That's going to be all for today. Tune back in the future for some more videos, and I will see you all later. Goodbye.